Broadcasting from the Evergreen Media Network studios in Vero Beach, Florida. It's Huntin with Heather.
Hey y'all, welcome to Huntin with Heather. I am your host, Heather Hawk. We're at season 2, you guys, episode 2. If you're new, welcome. This show is dedicated to all those who love to hunt, love the outdoors, and those who want to learn more. Whether you're a seasoned hunter or a green hunter, this show is going to be packed full of information. We're going to talk deer, turkey, and everything in between. And of course, you can't forget about those stories, the stories that keep us coming back for more. So grab a seat and let's talk hunting. Before I introduce my guest today, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Jake Witt with State Farm. Yes, that's right, guys. The Jake with State Farm. If you are looking for an agent with that hometown feel, this is who you're going to want to reach out to, you guys. He covers my family and he covers our vehicles, our utility vehicles, our life insurance policies, and it's nice because it's just a one-stop shop. I don't have to worry about it. And so definitely want to reach out to Jake Witt at State Farm. You can reach him at calljake.com or 772-500-5253. That's Jake Witt with State Farm. And of course, I got to give a shout out to Boars and Broads. Those guys, man, you need to go check them out. If you haven't seen any of their content, you definitely want to go look at this. I mean, if you love hogs and running dogs, this is your jam. And you're going to want to check out their merchandise, you guys. So check them out, boarsandbroads.com. All right, let's get into the show, you guys. So I'm super excited because we are 2 days away, 2 days and a wake up away from opening weekend here in Florida for Zone C. And that means it's archery season, which is a very busy season for our trackers. So my guest today, this is what he does, and him and his dog, Sven, and we're going to get into that. But let me introduce Buck Morrison. Buck wears many hats, and so he's a daddy. And very proudful of that one. And he is a judge in the rodeo, which is, and we'll go into that a little bit. But he also tracks. So him and his dog Sven they're hot on the trail, and especially this time of year. So I thought this would be a perfect person to come on. So welcome, Buck. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Sven and you, because you guys are a good duo, and this is like the season, right, for Sven.
This is where we get started. This is one of our busiest seasons. Muzzleloading is probably the busiest.
Really?
Just because I feel like more people get opportunities during muzzleloading season.
That's interesting, yeah. And
deer just don't tend to bleed as much with a muzzleloader. But archery season is very busy, especially in Florida, being rainy, a lot of wet country. Blood doesn't stick very good.
Yeah.
Once you shoot a deer with a bow, they start looking for water a lot of times. So very hard to track them in water if there ain't blood. Doesn't affect the dogs at all. Actually helps them.
That's interesting.
My dog is Sven. He's a 2.5-year-old Catahoula leopard.
There he is.
Last year was one of his first full seasons. We ended up recovering 14 deer. We had 4 deer that showed back up on camera that were alive that we tracked that Sven told me were going to survive. The dogs don't need blood to track, and that's one of the big misconceptions that people don't understand. They track the interdigital gland from the deer's hooves. Once that deer is wounded, he starts emitting a different smell. And that's what the dogs are tracking, is that smell from the wounded deer. So Sven don't care anything about a live deer or a normal deer. You know, if there's 4 or 5 deer at a feeder and you shoot one of them, he's only looking for the one that's emitting a wounded deer scent. You know, some people are hesitant to call in a tracker with a dog because they think it's going to mess up their spot or scare off their deer. I've had tracks where I went and tracked a wounded deer, and by the time I got back to the truck from tracking him, they've shot another deer at the same feeder because the dog scent just didn't bother them.
Mm-hmm.
Our dogs aren't going to run live deer. They're not going to run them off. They're going to go after the deer that they're trained to go for. We found deer that were probably 1,200 yards from where they were shot with no blood. You have 1 or 2 drops of blood along the way, and we've recovered them. There's a lot of great teams in the area, all throughout Florida. Florida Blood Trail Network's a great page on Facebook, has a lot of good trackers. Central Florida Deer Recovery. We have a lot of great teams that are willing to come out and help. There's no charge. We do work for tips, but we don't require money. We owe it to the animal. If you've shot an animal and you feel you've hit him, to try to do all that we can to recover it. And so, if you can't afford to pay, or times are tough, whatever, don't not call me.
Right.
We'll bring a dog out. We'll put the dog on it. At the end of the night, we'll shake hands. See you next time.
Yeah.
And I feel that's 99% of the trackers feel the same way. Like I said, nobody charges for it. Some of them do expect a tip, but it's not guaranteed.
Or gas money, at least.
That's what, every time I track a deer, when we get done, people ask me, what do I owe you? You don't owe me anything.
Yeah.
But my gas wasn't free to get here. If you want to give me some gas money, that's great.
Right. Whatever you think.
Exactly.
I'm worth, or this buck was worth,
Yes.
or deer, or doe, or whatever it was. Now, yeah, so it's very interesting that you say the whole no blood, which I didn't realize, like I thought before I had thought they go on blood, but until, you take the hoof, and there's that gland in there that.
The glands between their toes, and they always emit scent. That's how deer follow other deer, there's always a scent. Once that deer is wounded, that scent changes.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Too. There's a good little chart there that I know a lot of people. If you're not watching this and you're on the podcast, we have a chart pulled up here, and it just kind of shows the arrows and different blood or guts on the arrow, and when to hold on and when to sit and how long to sit and things like that. We mentioned earlier before the show. It's a great starting point. Yes. Right.
Yes. It tells you, if you've liver shot a deer, a lot of times the shot's going to be kind of high. It's going to work. It's going to kill the deer. There's probably not going to be a lot of blood because the deer itself is going to fill up. And that deer may run 400 yards before it lays down. Best thing to do if you got a liver shot and you see that liver blood on your arrow, back out and get a dog on standby. The more you walk around and trample stuff down and look around, which we all want to do. I know we've just shot a deer.
Oh, yeah.
We've put in the time. We've put in the effort. Now we want to recover our trophy. Every step you take of just guessing is lowering our chances of recovery. Once you get that scent on your feet from the deer and you start walking around, every step you take, you're putting that scent on the ground. So instead of there being one trail of that scent, now there's 400 trails of it from where you've walked around.
Okay.
And my dog has to decipher through all of it. And I can't tell him whether he's going right or wrong because he's tracking the deer scent, but it could be the deer scent from the hunter rather than the actual deer.
Yeah.
So until we get out of where the hunter is tracked throughout and get on fresh ground where just a deer ran, then we'll get on a straight line.
All right. So I've got a scenario for you. This has actually really happened.
Okay.
So, now I'm thinking, oh, okay, now I know probably what I did wrong. But so with my husband, he's always sit, do not get out.
Yes.
And I know that, but like you said, there's that excitement. So I had this hunt. It was opening weekend a couple of years ago up at our lease up in North Florida around Fargo. It is embodied by swamp, literally water, just everywhere. So I had this young buck come in, but a nice 8-point with of course I got a nice little drop time, perfect. He came right up to my stand at about 20 feet. backed up, and then he came around some bushes. Anyways, I got a great shot. Broadside. It just couldn't have been any better. He was probably 30, 32 yards. I mean, it was just, he, turned around, turned around and went back into the swamp where he came from, or, kind of in the area where he came from. But I listened to his, bouncing in the water, like one splash, 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 splash. Didn't hear anything. So I kind of remembered, the last point I heard him and where down this trail. Okay, I had a buddy of ours on our lease, and John was hunting somewhere else completely on the other side of the lease or something like that. So my buddy said, hey, if you shoot something, just come down and get me. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So I waited a little bit, went down and got him. We walked back to where I shot him at. We found my arrow maybe 15 yards, 20 yards from there. Yeah. Full of blood. I mean, it was a good arrow. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, this is a good shot. So super excited. So we walked back a little. I mean, it's water. There's this trail, and it's just water. So you're up to your knees, maybe your calves and knees at point, and it's just water. We walked back a little ways, came back out, and then we went and, waited a little bit, got John, got a few of us. We went back in there, because I'm like, gosh, he's got to be around here somewhere. It was a... We called and to get a dog out there, but we were 15 in line. Yeah. They were jammed up. Yep. So we were able to get somebody out there. By the time it was that was at 8:30 in the morning, and I think we got a dog out there at 5. He didn't find anything. Then the people originally that we had called came out with their dogs, but it was just about dark. Yeah. Their dogs were, like I said, probably at this point, maybe 10. I don't know how many people backed out of them for looking for their deer, but probably 10 tracks in. Yeah. They're tired.
They were hot. Right. Yeah.
So we never found them. Very, very disappointing. Yes. But I do know this is so for people who are listening or... That is horrible because you always want to find your deer. But I do know that if he did die, it's a circle of life. A coyote or something, a bear or something would have got him. So I was sad though about, the whole, yeah. So what would you have done in my case?
Well, especially in water, the first trail is the best because there's oils that sit on top of that water. Mm-hmm. So the more you disturb that water, the less chance the dog has to work. Obviously, if there's grass or trees, vegetation in the water helps because it gets some scent on it, and it'll hold that scent more in a line. Myself, I would have asked you not to go back in. I'll be there. Time doesn't really affect them. Obviously, days does, but Sven has found one that was 26 hours old with no blood. We were able to recover that deer. He was in water in a cypress head. So time doesn't affect them as much as walking would. Whether or not them dogs were picking stuff up, that's hard to say. They could have just been kind of gridlocked from you walking around. Yeah. Myself, if I would have put Sven on it, I probably would have asked, how far did y'all go? Yeah. Let's set up y'all went 100 yards. Let me get past 100 yards, walk a new boundary, see if he can pick up a trail leaving here. Because that deer could have been underwater if it's knee deep.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was worried about. Or clotting up, too. Can they, so that's something I hear where they actually clot up.
They can clot up, especially, if you shoot a deer high and back that's facing away from you, your exit is probably going to be through the brisket. Well, it's very fatty. That's going to clot up. Well, if you shot him high on an entrance, that deer is going to fill up with blood. He's not going to leak it out. He's going to expire. He's going to die. There's just not a trail. Right. A dog will find him very simply. But like you said, it's going to clot. Yeah. Fat's going to right. Get in the hole in the wound, everything. So he's not going to leak that good. And a dog's going to be your best option for a recovery on that.
Yeah.
because he don't need blood. And, and I have hunters all the time tell me, well, I don't have blood. Well, if you had blood, I can find him. I don't need the dog if you got blood.
This is true, yeah.
The dog's there for what we can't see.
Yeah.
And, they're trained professionals.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
It's exciting. I'm not going to lie. So tracking, whether you have a dog or not, like just tracking.
Yes.
Like John and I'm like, he's like, here, okay, the CSI work is going. Now we are on. You know what I mean? So we're looking. I mean, we tracked that elk out in Idaho hours.
Yeah.
Hours, and ended up having to leave, to go back to, I mean, we didn't have dogs, but I mean, I was literally on the ground, at night with
specks of blood.
And like, okay, well, this is our last spot. So restart from here, like, okay, so here we are. But it's definitely exciting, exhausting too. It can be heartbreaking.
Yes.
But I do have to say real quick on the point of when you said the dog, it doesn't matter when the dogs are in there about other deer coming in afterwards, because so we did that same spot where I shot that buck. So the next morning, John's like, where are you going to sit? And I'm like, I'm going to sit here. He's like, he's like, there's just a lot of people were trampling around there. Next morning, I had a little buck come in, you know what I mean? So it came literally right up to me underneath my stand, like walked.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like,
I mean,
I'm sure it can.
There's all kinds of foreign scents out there. There's coyotes and stuff. I had on trail camera yesterday. I had a coyote come by the camera, and 3 minutes later, on the same trail, a doe and yearling walk by. So they live in the same woods as them. They coexist. Dogs, same way.
Yeah.
If that dog doesn't get after them and push them, he's not a threat to them.
Yeah. See, that's good to know, because a lot of people, like you said, have a misconception or different things of.
For sure.
And
I mean, I can't say that I was any different. I had the same kind of misconception, If you trample through here, if you bring a dog in, it's probably going to blow a spot out for a couple days, a week.
Right.
But now that I've been in the tracking world and see the stuff that goes on, there's deer there within hours of me being there with a dog. And sometimes it's the same deer, the deer that I've tracked that was shot. Right.
You just never know.
Shows back up at the same corn pile.
They're like, I mean, they are resilient. They are definitely, I hate that, that they get, wounded. Obviously, that's not our goal as a hunter. We always want to make sure the shot is clean and good and right where it's supposed to be. But it does happen.
It does happen to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, and the best people that I get are, I always tell them, I got a dog. If you ever need help, give me a call. Everything I shoot drops.
Okay,
Up until now.
Okay, buddy. Yeah.
Up until now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always that one chance, deer took a step as you were pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
There's always something that can go wrong.
Let's talk briefly too, because these dogs, the dogs that do this, so whether it's tracking a deer or hog hunting or whatever, these dogs, this is their life.
Yes.
This is what dogs are made for. They're made to work.
Yep.
So, yes, we have our pet dogs and we have them and everything. And I know Sven is part of your family, literally your family. But, I mean, it's such another misconception of what these dogs and how,
Sven can be dead asleep on the floor. And I can be talking to Danielle and say, deer season's coming. As soon as you say deer, he pops up.
He knows.
I can put him in the truck, take him to the woods and exercise him, whatever. He runs, he has a good time. The second I grab my tracking collar, he's a different animal.
Yeah.
He turns into a working dog.
A working dog, yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Yep.
As soon as that tracking collar gets on him, he is there to do a job.
Yeah.
So
that's important for people to understand that, because we don't want them to think anything. Not that it matters what they think, but it does. We just want them to understand.
Yes.
So there's a picture right there of Tulsa, Miss Tulsa. That is one of your pride and joys. You've got Ace now. You got a little boy, but Tulsa has been in the mix of everything that you guys do. The rodeos, as well as Huntin, though. That there's your beautiful family right there. And there's Ace and Tulsa and Danielle and you guys. And so I just think I love to see you guys. I always tell Danielle, you guys really should have your own reality show, especially Tulsa, because her personality is, there she is the other day on her first hog hunt, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. So she picked out her little outfit. There she is, too. Look at her. She just rules.
Her and Sven.
Yep. And so I love it that you are teaching her that hunting heritage, why it's so important and to you.
Yep. And I told Danielle when she was pregnant with Tulsa, I said, Tulsa doesn't ever have to harvest anything.
Right.
That's fine. If that's but she will go and see where it comes from.
Yeah.
She will go to deer camp and she will see where the deer comes from. She'll go gator hunting with us and see where we harvested that gator. She's not going to think that food just appears on the table.
Yeah.
She will know. That picture there, that is a gator that she harvested at 4 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, she loves it, though.
She bang sticked it. She fought it on the pole.
Yeah.
She did everything herself. Obviously I was there to help her, but she knows.
She loves it.
She knows how to harvest.
Yeah.
There was a picture there of her and Sven with a buck.
Yeah.
We went to deer camp. She sat in the blind with me quite a few times. We seen deer, not something we wanted to take. And I explained to her why we weren't harvesting those does and stuff. And she said, Daddy, why don't you go out and shoot a buck and me and my dog will go find it?
Me and my dog,
So that's what I did. I
love it.
Went and shot a buck. Thankfully, he ran off some for her. And I went back to camp and got her, and her dog went and found it.
Yeah. Well, maybe she'll be a tracker, too.
She is. She really enjoys it.
That's good.
She got to go on a couple tracks with me last year. She's very into it.
Yeah.
She likes to watch the dog work. She understands. That was that track there she went on with us.
That's so cool. I love it. I love that she is so equally excited, you know, and her dog and just you guys and I love what you guys are as a family. I'm going to be honest. I just love it.
We really enjoy being parents.
Yeah. You guys are good parents.
We incorporate the kids in everything we do. Tulsa she'll be 5 at the end of November. I think she's spent 3 nights away from us in 5 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's good. Hey, she knows.
That's it.
She knows.
And they don't learn sitting at the house. So
that's right.
She does everything we do, and Ace will be the same way.
That's awesome. I believe so.
Yes, ma'am.
So I want to segue real quick. We only have a couple minutes left of the show, but I do want you guys, listeners out there, or if you guys are watching this, vote yes on Amendment 2. So if you don't know what that is, do a little education on it, just do a little research, but I'm going to read briefly real quick. Amendment 2 definitely protects. So what it is, Amendment 2 preserves Florida's rich traditions, conservation practices, outdoor lifestyle, and economic opportunities. So as the fishing capital of the world, anglers come to chase everything from tarpon to red snapper, while hunters flock to Florida to chase waterfowl and Osceola turkeys. Amendment 2 definitely protects our right to fish and hunt in the state of Florida, while bans were considered in at least a dozen states last year, including a push to criminalize hunting, fishing, and farming. Amendment 2 will prevent extremists from taking away our rights. You guys, do your research, but yes on 2. We're going to wrap up the show. Buck, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, you guys, and share the show. If you think it can help somebody else, please share it. Like it, subscribe to me on YouTube, you guys, and good luck to all you hunters out there this weekend. And, if you need a tracker, don't hesitate to reach out. I love you guys. Go get outdoors.